Alright guys, what's going on? It's Jack and welcome back to another video, and the topic of discussion in this one today is going to go one of two ways that I see. Number one, we're either going to be divided about around 50-50 on the topic, or we may completely agree on the subject. So let's get right into it. So for those of you guys that have been here for a while, that kind of know me well enough in terms of Call of Duty, so to speak, and my opinions on past games, present games, and everything in between, you guys will know that, especially in this day and age, in terms of the way Call of Duty has evolved or de-evolved, depending on how you look at it, you guys will know that I'm not too crazy about a game that is called Modern Warfare 2. In other words, like if Modern Warfare 2 Remastered were multiplayer were to come out, I would not be really hyped. I mean, I'd be happy for the people that would be hyped, but me personally, I would not be hyped. Remember, the community doesn't play games of the past the same way that they do today. I mean, look at Black Ops 1 and Black Ops 2. Look at how those games are played today compared to how they were played back in the day. I saw a tweet earlier today. I think Thunder tweeted at it, or somebody that Thunder follows, right? So I saw that somebody, it could have been Thunder, but I saw that they tweeted out that basically Black Ops 1 is actually playable when it comes to like the game like not being overrun by hackers like Black Ops 2. But overall, Black Ops 1 is playable, but apparently everybody in Black Ops 1 is camping their asses off in a way that a Black Ops 1 has never seen before. And part of the reason is because of the way the community plays the game today in comparison to the way they used to play. There are far more campers out there today than there ever were before in Call of Duty. Now, granted, in almost every single type of first-person shooter, regardless, you're always going to have campers. It's just the way it works, right? The only game where you're not really going to have campers is from the original first-person shooters, like, for instance, like the Unreal Tournaments or the Quake or whatnot, because those games are not built like that. They're built around motion and how you actually use your movement to both play offensively and defensively. So you actually need to move because that's how those games are built. Call of Duty, on the other hand, is a game that has part of the Quake engine in its DNA, but it's not Quake. Obviously, it's been altered, right? So, granted, it's definitely slower, so it allows for camping and other different ways to kind of experiment with your situation, so to speak, right? To put it nicely. So the thing is this. Now, going back to Modern Warfare 2. Not crazy about it, right? If it were to come out, great for the people that are happy, but for me personally, just no. And don't be surprised. I mean, I'm just warning you now before the game comes out, because sooner or later it will, according to leaks and rumors. At one point in time, sooner or later it will, right? So don't be surprised if it ends up being one of the campiest games you've ever seen play, especially if they don't fix the one-man army YouTube shit. I mean, if they make the game exactly, in terms of the way it plays, exactly how it was back in the day, oh man, it's not only going to be a crazy camp fest, but it's going to be a crazy camp fest with one-man army noob tubes and all that shit. So for those of you the guys that enjoy that, great. But I like to think that most of us would probably not enjoy that in this day and age in Call of Duty, especially with the way the games of recent times have evolved. So, but there is something, though, that the next Call of Duty 2020, Call of Duty Cold War, Black Ops Cold War, Call of Duty Vietnam, or whatever the hell it's going to be called, it does need to take a page out of Modern Warfare 2. And that is that everything needs to be strong. Everything needs to be powerful and overpowered. I mean, if you look at all the different, like, let's translate this into the current Call of Duty title right now, right? Modern Warfare. There's only like 4 or 5 guns out of the whole bunch that are in that game that are being used. And at times it seems to go back and forth between what? The M4 and then the, I forgot what the other gun is called. I'm sorry, I don't play the game. I haven't played it since the second week of release, if that. So, the thing is that, no, I'm sorry. Actually, I did play it briefly a few months ago, and then like an hour later, I just put it down again. And I'm like, what the fuck was I thinking? So, but for the most part, I've only played like maybe 10 hours at the most of the game, and then I had enough. But the thing is, it always, like between the submachine guns, it's always the MP7s that I'm seeing, or the MP5, or, you know, in terms of the assault rifles, it's the M4 or the other one. I don't remember what it's called. And obviously you got one shotgun and then one sniper, obviously, that gets used, right? So, but there are a ton more weapons in the game, and then there's so much more that could be used. So therefore, I personally think everything should be equally overpowered in some way, shape, or form. Whether it's keep all the submachine guns at the same fire rate, but just give them different recoil patterns and different iron sights, and let everybody choose what they want, or let them choose a little bit of everything. It's like, hey, I'm sick and tired of this gun. Let me use another gun. One of the reasons why people don't use different guns is because they know that they're at a strict disadvantage. And let me tell you a story. So I was playing some Infinite Warfare, right? Before I decided to make this commentary, which is where the game actually, where the commentary and the title of the video actually was inspired from today. And I translated that into the Call of Duties of the past, the Call of Duties of the present, and the Call of Duty that is to come. So that's how I got the topic of discussion for today. So I was running into people that were just fucking abusing Synaptic and LMGs. Now, I refuse to use the combination of the two, right? But finally today, after feeling my blood pressure rise, and on top of that, you got guys that have their customizable calling cards or whatever it is, or their emblem next to their calling cards that basically say, if you use Synaptic and LMGs, you're a pussy or whatnot. But what are they using? They're using Synaptic and LMGs. It's like, and you run into groups of these people, and it's like, oh shit, here we go. So finally, my hand was forced, and I used the Synaptic. I was actually getting my ass handed to me, not too badly, but from somebody that basically was using the Synaptic. Wasn't using the LMG, at least not all the time, but he was using Synaptic, and every single time I ran into the guy, 9 times out of 10 I lost that gunfight because my hits were not registering, because we know that the Synaptic is broken because the hit registration is not the same, which gives the person that used Synaptic an unfair advantage in a gunfight. And you know, his hits were counting where mine were not. So finally, when I decided to use a Synaptic and put it on, what ended up happening was this guy ended up being on my team, and then those other two douchebags with the emblems that were customizable to say what they said that I mentioned just less than a minute ago, those guys were on the other team. Now, we still lost, but since switching to the Synaptic, I was using an SMG, and I managed to drop a Warden on them. We still lost the game, and I outscored the guy that was beating my ass by double digits, just by simply switching to Synaptic. So therefore, one thing or two things or three things in the game that are giving the player such an advantage and being overpowered really knocks the game off balance, and at the same time it forces the player or players to switch to that loadout, so that way they don't feel like they're at a disadvantage. And at the same time, you know, a lot of noobs like to use shit like that, or players that are not as good as they think they are like to use that and like to basically abuse it. And it's just basically, it really ends up being more aggravating than anything else. But we wouldn't have this problem when it comes to weapons and everything else if they took the Modern Warfare 2 route, to where everything was good. Like, all the guns in Modern Warfare 2 were good. The submachine guns were good. The shotguns were good. Everything was good. So, I mean, granted, a lot of people still gravitated towards the ACR because the ACR had the least amount of recoil. But if you look at not just back then, but even now, like, if you customize your weapon the right way, it's not going to have crazy amount of recoil. And let's not mention the fact that, I've mentioned this time and time again, aim assists over the last few years has been gradually increased, so that way the noobs have better aim than they otherwise normally would, right? So, I mean, recoil in and of itself in the last few years, along with the powerful aim assist, really is just like, recoil in Call of Duty is just being less and less and less, and aim assist is being increased more and more and more. So the thing is, like, let's just make all the guns overpowered, so that way there would be no favorites. It's like, hey, which gun do you want to use today, or which gun do you feel like using today, or let's have this class. I mean, having the same class really, it also keeps, like, Call of Duty is meant to be replayable, right? You increase the replay factor when you make everything good. It makes everybody want to use everything. Like with Black Ops 4, one of the problems, obviously, with Black Ops 4 is everybody's using a damn DLC weapons because the DLC weapons are better than the base weapons, right? But even with that put aside, some of you guys might say, well, we're sick and tired of the regular weapons because that's all we used until the DLC weapons came out. Okay, you have a point. But at the same time, here's my point. And my point is that you're only using a handful of weapons. when you have so much more to choose from. When you get bored of using, or sick and tired and bored of using a certain weapon, what do you want to do? You want to use another one, right? To kind of enhance the experience, to make it feel the same but yet different. You know, I mean, every single weapon should be good to use. And back in the day, they actually used to be. Well, at least when it comes to Modern Warfare 2. And some other Call of Duty since Modern Warfare 2, some of them have done a better job, some of them have done a less better job. But Call of Duty is seeking balance in a slightly different way. I mean, obviously Infinity Ward, you know, doesn't give a shit. So we're not really going to include them in this. But when it comes to like Treyarch, they try to seek balance in different ways. I mean, I understand why. I totally get it. But at the same time, it's like, hey, let's just make everything good. You know what I mean? Because the thing is, if the VMP was a little bit more powerful, if the AN-94 in Black Ops 4 was a little bit more powerful, or if other weapons were a little bit more powerful, and yes, I did say the VMP more powerful because I know the VMP is strong, but let me tell you something. When somebody uses a micro 9mm, the one that has like a delay but fires fast as fuck and still kills you faster than any other gun in the game, and the gun also has really good hip fire as well, you get in a fair gunfight against that, even against a noob, and if you don't have anything but that gun, you're going to lose that gunfight. Just like Infinite Warfare. If you're not using Synaptic, you're going to be at a severe disadvantage. Even if somebody is not as good as you are going to be at a severe disadvantage, and you're going to get killed more than you otherwise would. So all these little things need to be applied to the whole game. Make everything good. Make everything overpowered. Make the streak strong. Make everything overpowered. So that way, it is a form of balance. That is one of the things that I actually agree with when it comes to Modern Warfare 2. The fact that all the guns were good did give it a sense of balance. And then combine the philosophies of some of the more recent Call of Duty games that improved them, along with the philosophy of Modern Warfare 2, to where every single gun was good, so therefore no gun would be favored over another. It's just like, hey, pick your choice. Which iron sights do you like more? Okay, go with this gun. Which recoil pattern do you like more? Hey, go with this gun, and then switch it up when you get bored. Right? But anyway, guys, that's all I got for this one. Let me know down in the comment section. Do you think that the next Call of Duty should take this route? Or do you think Call of Duty should take that route in general, whether the next one goes by this or not? What do you guys think? What's your opinion on the whole balancing factor when it comes to Call of Duty? And as always, guys, if you enjoyed this video, let me know. And if you didn't, let me know what I can do to make my videos better. I hope you guys enjoy your weekend, and I'll catch you guys on the next one.